When Kyle first was involved in the shootings, we heard what? Madman running around shooting people at random. And I agree. I mean, when I first saw that, I thought, man, this kid's crazy. I was pretty upset, too, because as a gun owner, I don't like people going around doing this kind of stuff because it hurts our rights to own guns. And so I was pretty mad at Kyle. And it wasn't until I watched Rick Gore's version of thing on his Good Luck America channel when I realized that I had been duped. We heard the same thing with the Pudgy's Bar incident, where everything is blown way out of proportion. Then you find out what really happened, and you think, well, okay, it wasn't nearly as serious as it was made to sound like. And now the latest with the bail thing. You go on to Twitter, and oh my gosh, Kyle has fled the country. He is hiding somewhere. Nobody can find him. Probably secured away by the Proud Boys in their basement. They're protecting him. They're hiding him. He's a fugitive. It's getting kind of tiresome. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
Okay, so here is a story that sort of produces some of the back details of what took place. This is by Vice, not a particularly friendly news outlet for Kyle. Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyers. Cops told us to lie about where he's living. Well, okay. That's not quite what the lawyers said, but let's just go ahead and read on here. By the way, we're going to be finding stuff in here that's absolutely irritating. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's old Kyle. Prosecutors say Kenosha shooter Kyle Rittenhouse skipped out on his bond by not updating the court with his new address. But Rittenhouse's former lawyer says police told him to purposely mislead the court as to where Rittenhouse is living. Well, okay, you can start to see how some of the storytelling goes here. We're going to find out that's really not quite the case, but overall, I couldn't say that that is actually incorrect. Prosecutors are seeking a new arrest warrant and want a $200,000 increase in the bond for the teenage Trump fan from Illinois, the teenage Trump fan. Where did that come from? All we have is that he shows a picture of him at a Trump rally. It may or may not even be him. It kind of looks like him. But all of a sudden, he's a teenage Trump fan from Illinois. Oh, yeah. This trial is not political, by the way. No, there's nothing political about this trial. This teenager, he's a Trump fan. Gosh. Accused of shooting and killing 2 people last summer during an uprising in Kenosha, Wisconsin, after he didn't provide an updated address where he's staying. Okay, so that part is true. I don't have any problem with that. He did shoot and kill 2 people. In self-defense, but okay. Rittenhouse allegedly shot and killed 2 men and wounded another in Kenosha on August 25th. I thought we already said that. As protests exploded over the police shooting of Jacob Blake, Rittenhouse was charged with homicide and attempted homicide. True. His lawyers say he acted in self-defense. He did. And by the way, if you disagree, provide me the evidence to show me that he didn't act in self-defense. You show me the evidence what he didn't. I'm waiting. We're going to get, oh, well, he killed 2 people. That's why he didn't act in self-defense. Okay. He went looking for trouble. He's a member of a Proud Boys. Yeah, you've heard of all these lame reasons before. Amazing. The motion to increase Rittenhouse's bond was filed after court notices sent to the address listed as Rittenhouse's were returned by the Postal Service, and police detectives confirmed that a renter was now living at the address, according to the Kenosha News. Wow, there's some great sleuthing there. It is extremely unusual for a defendant facing a charge of first-degree intentional homicide in Kenosha County to post cash bond and be released from custody pending trial. Oh, come on. That is a blatant lie. Prosecutor said Wednesday. Crystal Kaiser was released last year. Her murder charge is more serious. They think she planned hers. She was released on $400,000 bond in Kenosha, and she's 17, same age as Kyle. And here, this Thomas Binger dude, I guess it is Binger, has the nerve to say that this is extremely rare, that a person charged with murder is out on the streets of Kenosha. Go look at Crystal Kaiser. She is charged with planning to murder a man, and then she set fire to his house to destroy the evidence. Alleged. She hasn't been tried yet. I think she might have a self-defense claim. If she does, I hope she gets off. Oh, by the way, she's black. Why that always seems to matter now, I don't know, but I had to say it because a lot of people might say, well, this Crystal lady probably got some white privilege coming their way. No, she's black. She's a black female, and she was bonded on $400,000 in Kenosha for a more serious charge. Now, admittedly, she is alleged to have killed one person, Kyle too. But he didn't say anything about that. He didn't say here that people facing multiple homicides are rarely ever released. It says here, it is extremely unusual for a defendant facing a charge of first-degree intentional homicide in Kenosha County to post cash bond. It was only done about a year ago, and it's their office that did it. They know. He's lying. When are the people going to figure this thing out? When are they going to figure it out that this is a political deal? Rarely does our community see accused murderers roaming about freely. Well, Crystal's roaming about freely. She was actually able to get bonded out. She was bonded out by a local group that raised the money for her from Illinois. She's from Wisconsin. They didn't give any money to Kyle Rittenhouse, even though he's from Illinois. They gave it to her. She's from Wisconsin. That's okay. I don't have any problem with that. But you know what? It is ridiculous to think that rarely does our community see accused murderers roaming about freely. Oh, by the way, the fact that this group got together and pooled some money together and bonded her out, nobody criticized them for that. Mike Lindell and Ricky Schrader, they raised money to free Kyle, and oh my God, I can't believe anybody would put their money together to free a murderer. And yet this group got her sprung. And good. I'm glad. If somebody can post bond, that means they are able to get out and help set up their defense. The purpose of a bond is to secure the accused's presence in future proceedings. That's what it's about. And to also make sure that they don't harm the community. Rittenhouse's current attorney, Mark Richards, filed his own motion Wednesday objecting to the increase, saying Rittenhouse's new address at a safe house wasn't disclosed out of concerns for his safety. A copy of the filing shared with Vice News show. So this fact that Kyle is out there when nobody can find him and hiding with the Proud Boys and fleeing is total malarkey. He already showed up at one of the preliminary hearings. He was there. Was it wise for him to do this? That's a different argument. But the very point is that Kyle was not in hiding. He was not hiding from the law. He might have been hiding from people that were out to hurt him. I don't know. That's his story. An email from an unknown sender was sent to Richards on January 25th, filed as alleged evidence of the threats against Rittenhouse. Says that if Rittenhouse is convicted, he'll be sexually assaulted in prison. Law and Crime first reported on the content of Richards' objection. Okay, so I think it had to be more than simply if you go to prison, you're going to get raped or something like that. This was probably somebody claiming he knew somebody in the prison that was going to, say, sexually assault him. So I think it was more than just simple the stupid stuff that gets sent around on social media. This threat was probably more credible than that, or at least made more direct mention of imminent threat. I have no way of knowing for sure, by the way. I have not seen that email. I'm not certain it's going to be shown to us. Do we go ahead and take Mark Richards' word for it? It's up to you. I mean, as far as I can tell, it seems like it's certainly plausible. Corey Sharatasi, a lawyer working with Richards, emailed Kenosha County Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger, a real scumbag, in November asking to keep Rittenhouse's new address under seal. The filings show Binger refused, citing Wisconsin's proud history of open records laws. Oh, come on. This is not about open records. Disclosing where an accused person is living is not exactly an example of open records. It's not important for Joe Blow on the street to know where Kyle is living. It's important for the court to know. And therefore, asking the court to keep it under seal would have been a perfectly reasonable thing to do. As long as the court knows where to get him, who cares? But what are you possibly protecting by disclosing where he's living? What does that do for the public? Explain that to me. Proud history of open records laws. Give me a break. Yeah, email him asking for information about the trial and he won't give you nothing. Open records. But cracked open the door to changing his mind if there were a specific, tangible, and imminent threat that would justify secrecy. In other words, no. I see no purpose in disclosing the kid's address. I see no good that comes from that. It might be important to know where he's in which town, because if you have an accused killer running around, and keep in mind, it's just alleged, it might be important for the town to know he's there. But to know exact house, where he's living, that just opens up the person to abuse. And look, person's innocent until proven guilty. And until he's proven guilty, opening him up for attack from the public is completely uncalled for. They need to re-examine this law. I mean, what's to stop a lynch mob? That's how lynch mobs get away with it. They can form up and just go right after the person's address. And with Kyle Rittenhouse, that could happen. Of course, they wouldn't hang him. They'd probably just shoot him. And yes, I reserve this to everyone that is on bail. There is no reason for the public to know the address of the person. As for why the address listed as Rittenhouse's was not the one where he's actually living, according to former Rittenhouse attorney John Pierce, who left the case in mid-January 2021, the cops basically told him not to disclose the address where Rittenhouse was really staying. This could be a he said, she said. The cops might come back and deny this. Pierce claims that while filling out a form for Rittenhouse's bond at the Kenosha County Public Safety Building on November 20th, he was approached by a Kenosha Police Department captain who offered his assistance. Well, I would think there's only one captain, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out who that is. Is that Meniscus? Or is he the... I think that's Meniscus. I'm not sure. I asked the Kenosha police captain what address to put on the form. Pierce said, in a sworn affidavit, okay, this is kind of important, in a sworn affidavit filed as part of the motion to oppose the bond increase. The Kenosha police captain told me that I absolutely should not provide the address of the physical location of the Rittenhouse safe house on the form, but to instead provide his home address in Antioch, Illinois. The Kenosha Police Department did not immediately return a call requesting a comment. Well, Mr. Police Department Captain, if you didn't say this, you'd better get on record of right away denying this. Because this not immediately returning a call doesn't look good. Is this really what happened? I don't know. I have a feeling that the police captain is going to deny it. But, and another question comes out is, if the police captain tells you not to put the right address on the form, should you go along with that? That would be a little bit shaky for me. Now, keep in mind, Pierce is a lawyer. I would think he would know better. So if he thinks that having the Kenosha police captain tell him not to put the right address on the form is good enough, I'm not one to say otherwise, but it doesn't sound right. In the new motion objecting to the bond increase, Richards says that he simultaneously filed a notice updating the court with the defendant's current address under a separate motion to seal. So the court knows where he is. This idea that Kyle is hiding somewhere, they're trying to find him, the court knows where he is now. Now here's where, oh my gosh. Okay, listen to this. Former President Donald Trump defended Rittenhouse in public comments. Who cares? What relevance is that? You know what the relevance is? This is political. That's what this is about. And every time they write one of these articles, they got to get Trump in there. And yeah, they're hoping that jurors see this. This isn't about trying Kyle Rittenhouse on the evidence. This is about trying to work up public fervor against the accused so that the jurors could be persuaded to sort of overlook the evidence and convict him anyway. So, former President Donald Trump defended Rittenhouse in public comments following the shooting, and his lawyer at that time, far-right activist Lynn Wood, yeah, there's no politics here at all, raised $2 million from conservatives. Yeah, that's really important to know, including MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell for Rittenhouse's bond. And they mentioned something here about Wood later left the case to focus on boosting fake election fraud claims and arguing Trump's enemies should be executed. See, this is not relevant to Kyle. This is just Kyle's lawyer. It doesn't matter what Lynn Wood does outside of this. Furthermore, Lynn Wood is not his trial lawyer. He is not a criminal lawyer. He is a tort lawyer. He has nothing to do with Kyle's defense here, and is currently under investigation in Georgia for possibly voting illegally. Again, why do we even care about this? It's not relevant to this news story. Well, you know why. Prosecutors disclosed photos last month showing Rittenhouse, who was 17 at the time of the shooting, hanging out at a bar in Wisconsin on January 5th, posing with members of the far-right group Proud Boys and using white supremacist hand signs. Oh, so if we can't get the jurors persuaded with Trump, and then if mentioning Lynn Wood isn't enough, let's remind them of the white supremacists, the OK symbol. They're working really hard here to try to make this about the political side. It's not. This is about whether a young kid defended himself properly with a gun that night in Kenosha. It has nothing to do with his political background. It has to do with the law and the elements of the law. We've gone over that in detail. This is self-defense. It doesn't matter if he was a BLM protester. It doesn't matter if he is a member of the Boogaloo Boys. It doesn't matter. What matters is what happened. What are the elements of the law? Do the elements of the law match what happened? That's what matters. The defendant's continued association with members of a group that prides itself on violence and the use of their symbols raises the significant possibility of future harm, prosecutors said at the time. Okay, again, they're really working hard on this white supremacist thing. There is no evidence whatsoever that Kyle is a white supremacist. The only thing they have is that he's in a bar, he's drinking, some Proud Boys come up and take photos with him, and I guess they sang to him. Kyle's probably had a few beers, I don't know. But whatever the case, they already combed through his social media thoroughly. If he's a white supremacist, he's not engaging in any kind of communications with others. What's the point? So this is just character assassination. And notice how out of place that is in this particular news story. Trump, Lynn Wood, white supremacy. It doesn't matter here. The fact is that Kyle did not disclose his address to the court. That's what the story is. But Vice can't stick to it. They want to bring in these other elements because they're trying to charge him politically. And unfortunately, it might work on some jurors. I have a feeling, though, they're going to have a really, really rough time getting all 12 to go along with this. I'm thinking that one of the 12 is going to probably be a somewhat conservative person, and he or she is not going to go for this. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is the absolute worst thing you can do in a murder trial, and that is get it politically embroiled. So, what are my thoughts on Kyle? First of all, should he have his bond raised? Maybe. Look, I know that I'm supposed to come in here and say, oh, no, come on, that's ridiculous, unfair. But the rules are the rules, and he violated his bond agreement. Raising his bond by $200,000, I hope they don't. I would not myself if I was the judge. However, if the judge does it, I can understand that. We have to be realistic and fair about this. I mean, agreement is agreement. He signed the agreement, and if he violated the agreement, it's quite reasonable to raise his bond. Again, I don't think I would do that if I was the judge, primarily for one reason. And I know that you're all thinking, oh, because you like Kyle, whatever. The reason is very simple. Whatever he did with disclosing his address or not, he showed up at his preliminary. He was there. In fact, I see no indication that he has failed to respond to the court in any fashion anytime they've asked him to be at a place. So I'm not terribly concerned about whether the address that he's staying matches the one they gave him. As long as the court can find him and he shows up at the preliminary hearings and all hearings from this point on, I don't see any reason to raise his bond. The purpose of bond, again, is twofold. One, make sure the person shows up in future proceedings. Two, that they don't hurt anybody while they're out. And by the way, hurting also includes contacting witnesses and things like that. That's a harm, so that's what I mean by that. As long as the bond that he's agreed to prevents those things from happening, I see no reason to raise it. However, if they do, yeah, I kind of get it. How credible of a threat did he face? I have no idea. Maybe the lawyer's completely making it up. Well, we got two lawyers here that are working on it. They all say the same thing. Actually, three of them all say the same thing about this credible threat. I have to believe that there was something. How serious it was, I have no idea. If it was serious, and the contents made it appear that knowing where he could be found could have placed him in harm, I get it. Hey, in the end, as an attorney, you have to make sure that your client doesn't get killed. Because if your client gets murdered, then your whole case kind of goes out the window. And so, do you risk it? Well, I don't know. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.